So welcome back to another rebuild here on NBA 2K25 Next Gen. In today's video, we are back with another episode of our LeBron Era rebuild series, and today it's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. The 2010-2011 Milwaukee Bucks were certainly nothing to call home about. This team went 35-47. They were nowhere near contention, and they were kind of lost in some way. Of course, this is the pre-Giannis era, so, although nobody ever really knew what Giannis was going to become in terms of a superstar, there was at least some young promise with his intrigue, his potential, and everything like that. We don't have that here today. We are led by a 21-year-old Brandon Jennings, a 25-year-old Andrew Bogut, and then it's just kind of a lot of players. There's really nothing here that gets me super excited. My goal today is to obviously rebuild this Bucks team, hopefully get them a championship. Finally, I know it has been a few weeks since we have done a LeBron era rebuild. Truthfully, I was just trying to get through all the offseason rebuilds before the actual NBA offseason hit, but I do want to finish this series this year, so we're going to kind of rip these out pretty much until the actual NBA offseason. So let me know which team you want me to do next down below in the comment section. If you are curious to the teams I have already done, just go click on the LeBron era playlist. All of them are listed right there. But excited for it, man. I have really enjoyed these rebuilds, even if we have taken a few weeks off. But let's get into this one. It is now the start of the 2010-2011 NBA season. Let's go ahead and do a quick breakdown on this Bucks roster. As I mentioned, there's not a lot here in terms of, young star potential or anything like that, but there are some nice players. I don't want to completely, dismiss this team, but it's not really anything super special. So we will start out here at the point guard spot. Brandon Jennings, at this point in time, is 21 years old. He's coming off a pretty solid rookie season. He is under team control for all 3 years of this video. So he's the highest overall in this team. Of course, already at an 84. It's a pretty good sign for me. I don't know if Brandon Jennings is going to be my guy the entire video today, but I can tell you something I do know for sure. He's never going to be the number one option on a championship team. So he's a really, young player, reliable option. Hopefully he's a guy we can continue to build around. Behind him, we have a 38-year-old Earl Boykins, who probably not going to be here for the long term. We have a 30-year-old Keon Dooling. The shooting guard spot with Corey Maggette is interesting because I think Corey Maggette at this point in time is certainly still a good player. I'm not going to deny that, but given that age, that overall, we kind of have to consider our options there as we do move forward. The depth behind him is John Salmon, so I think was actually the second leading scorer on this team when I was doing my research. Chris Douglas Roberts, and finally Carlos Delfino. That is not a name I have heard in a minute. We move to the small forward spot. I, for the life of me, cannot pronounce the name, but I think it's Luc Richey Mbah-a-Moute. Probably butchering the pronunciation of it, but he's 24 years old, went on to have a pretty solid NBA career. At a 74 overall, I'm not super excited about the idea of, having him start for us long term, but he's here for now. Michael Redd, who is pretty high in the contract department in terms of the AAV, and pretty low in the overall department. So those two things are definitely not a match made in heaven as we think about this team long term. I'm not going to pretend I know who Darrington Hobson is. I'd be lying to all of you if I said I did. No idea. Power forward spot. Drew Gooden and Ersan Ilyasova are both, fine options in terms of depth pieces. Neither of them are ever going to be a star in this league. They're not going to likely be the power forward that is starting on a championship team, but they're good depth pieces. And then I get no idea. Is this a real person? I don't know. The center spot, we're pretty strong at. I like Andrew Bogut quite a bit. He was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation this season, and at only 25 years old, obviously locked up on a long-term extension as well. Very well may be my center for the entirety of today's video. Then we have a 21-year-old Larry Sanders. I like Larry Sanders, man. But he's 21, again, 73 overall. Definitely some room to grow there. So, that's the team. It's not necessarily the worst thing you've ever seen. Trust me, as this LeBron era series, goes on and eventually wraps up, you're going to see a lot worse teams than this. But this is, again, nothing special and definitely needs a lot of work until we can get into contention. So, that being said, I do think we have a few trades before we kick off year number one. First trade of today's video is going to come with the Charlotte Bobcats. We are sending Michael Redd and Chris Douglas Roberts to Charlotte, and in return, we're going to land ourselves a 32-year-old Steven Jackson and a 28-year-old Boris Diaw. Now, this is not a trade that is necessarily going to help us win immediately. I understand we are getting back 2 higher overalls than we are sending out, which is always good, but the real reason I'm doing this deal is because Michael Redd is just probably not going to be anything special for us, or I don't think really was. And then Chris Douglas Roberts was kind of lost in a long depth of shooting guard options. So Steven Jackson's a clear-cut upgrade at my small forward spot. We'll figure out what we're going to do with Boris Diaw. Of course, we already do have some pretty decent depth at that power forward spot. And then in what I think will be our final trade before we kick off year one, we're going to swing a deal here with the Utah Jazz. Earl Boykins, who is again 38 years old and an expiring contract, along with Darrington Hobson, are heading to Utah. We're going to pick up a 27-year-old, 74 overall Ronnie Price. this isn't some sort of major upgrade. It's actually only one overall higher, but Price, of course, has the extra year of team control, which I do find beneficial. And then, yeah, Jeremy Evans is not going to play, but again, another multi-year contract that may eventually be a trade piece. So, yeah, kind of a small-ish move. It's more of a long-term move than a win now, but I think it does make some sense for me. So, here's what I decided to do. I decided to move Drew Gooden, who is 6'10", to the backup center spot. His overall did not change at all. Now, unfortunately, this will not allow Larry Sanders to get real playing time this season. And of course, come off-season number 1, we will certainly address the backup center spot. But with Boris Diaw coming in the Steven Jackson trade, it made a lot of sense for me to keep him there along with Ersan Ilyasova. So we have a 10-man rotation. Let's go ahead and set it. We are now ready to go for year number 1 here in Milwaukee. After a few trades, we have finalized this 10-man rotation, and I'm very interested to see how this thing can go because one side of me is saying, there's no injuries on. We obviously made a couple different trades that I think improved our depth, maybe even a little bit more star power with the addition of Jackson. Maybe this team sneaks into the playoffs. There's another side of me that says this was a 35-win team in real life. They're not very good. Our best player is relatively young, and maybe we end up in the lottery. I quite frankly have no idea. So we're going to see how this thing goes, and I'm prepared for everything at the end of this season. But the starting 5 in the rotation look like this: Brandon Jennings, Corey Maggette, Steven Jackson, Boris Diaw, and then Andrew Bogut. Bench unit will be led by John Salmons, Drew Gooden, the backup center, Ersan Ilyasova, the backup power forward, Luke Richer and Ba Mute, and finally Ronnie Price rounding out the 10-man. So unfortunately, there are some players like Keon Dooling, Jeremy Evans, Delfino, Larry Sanders. In terms of overall in a LeBron era rebuild, probably good enough to get playing time, but we just don't have the minutes for now. So that's something we, of course, will address come off-season number 1. Scott Skiles is the coach of this team with some of the worst ratings I have ever seen. Holy smokes. All right, I'll see you guys at the end of here, number 1. LeBron's first season in Miami ends with an MVP. More importantly, regarding our team, we go 43-39, which is, of course, much better than what the actual Milwaukee Bucks did throughout the 2010-2011 NBA season. And you know what? I'm hopeful in some aspects, and the other side of my brain is saying, well, now you're kind of just a middle-of-the-pack team that's never going to win anything, which is a really bad place to be. But I'm getting way too down on ourselves. Pretty good season. Blake Griffin, your Rookie of the Year. Manu Ginobili, 6th man. Timmy D is your depoy. DeMar, Most Improved. And Alan Bibby, head coach of the Orlando Magic, is your Coach of the Year. So, 43 wins is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Some part of my brain is I'm almost more mad we didn't lose more games so we'd have a better pick. But we're going to be in the playoffs. We're taking on the Celtics in round 1. Here's a look at the Western Conference. Let's talk about some of the numbers for this team real quick. Points per game, we were led by 21-year-old Brandon Jennings. You got Steven Jackson, Andrew Bogut, Maggette, Salmons, Diaw, Gooden, Ilyasova. You have eyeballs. Rebound department is going to be Bogut, and then assists is Jennings. So playoffs round 1 going to be us and the Boston Celtics. Rondo, Allen, Pierce, Garnett, Shaq, Jermaine O'Neal, Glenn Big Baby Davis. We're probably not going to win this series. I think they're pretty much better than us at almost everything. So we're down 3-1 right now, and we end up getting bounced in 5. Certainly feels like that could have been the ceiling for this team. It is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder defeating the Orlando Magic. Russell Westbrook, your finals MVP. They win it all in 5. All right, I doubt there are any retirements from our team here. Staff retirements, jersey retirements, historic changes. That's cool. We unfortunately are not going to be in the lottery, as we obviously were in the playoffs. So we'll sim through this real quick. Wizards, Raptors, Kings, Timberwolves, and then Bobcats as your top 5. All right. I mean, I would say, relatively speaking, overachieved. So Scott Skiles probably doesn't deserve to lose his job. And although that potential rating definitely gets me a little excited, everything else does not get me excited. So we're going to move on from Scott Skiles. Kind of just the way it goes in these when, we're kind of out of options otherwise. So I'll throw a little money here at Don Nelson. Doubt he's going to come. Of course, Stauffer can always be a backup. By the way, I asked you guys, I think, in a video last week, if any of you actually really care who my head coach is. Vast majority of you said you don't care. It is nice to mix it up, and I fully agree. So I try not to get style for every single video. Popovich is almost never going to come here. I'd offer like Mike Malone a contract, but because he's already an assistant with, I think it's at New Orleans, they always block it. Every team. It's absolutely insane. So are there any other head coach here? Like Mike D'Antoni's here. Ah, man. Dion Park. Okay, I don't know who this is, but ratings are pretty good. So, you know what? Don's coming. All right, we're going to take Don. Don Nelson, one of the greatest. Okay, let's sim up to the 2011 NBA draft. We are working with the 17th overall pick, which is, definitely nice. It's not nothing, but I wouldn't mind maybe moving up a few spots because we look at the 2011 draft. It is obviously a very good one. Now, we're not going to likely get a Kawhi or a Kyrie, but, if there's somebody like in the range, like down here, I don't know, nice role player here, I think I'd certainly be willing to do that. So let's see if there's a way for me to maybe trade up into like the top 8 or something. We are offering Drew Gooden, Keon Dooling, and our first round pick this year at number 17 to the Charlotte Bobcats, and we're going to see if they're maybe willing to trade us number 5 overall. Now, I understand this is, not nearly enough likely for the 5th overall pick, but you got to start somewhere. So I didn't think they were going to take that. Let's see. I don't want to give up Larry Sanders, but if you want Jeremy Evans, more than okay with parting with him. Again, this is why you keep the depth on these teams, because it ends up being very helpful when you're trying to make trades like the one I'm trying to make right now. And holy shit, they agree to it. Okay. Really strong first deal. We are now picking at number 5. Again, probably not getting Kyrie or Kawhi, but we can just see, who's sitting here for us. So, yep, surprise, the 2 best players go top 2. All right, Kenneth Faried, Klay Thompson went. He could have been a really fun addition to this team. Jimmy Butler is still sitting here, though. I think Jimmy Butler makes a lot of sense. Corey Maggette is getting older. And obviously, Jimmy Butler, well, yeah, he's probably the best player still sitting here. All right, Jimmy Butler, welcome to the Milwaukee Bucks. Going to come in, maybe start for us year 1. He's a 76 overall. We will figure that out. Both Jennings and Ilyasova will be brought back. We have no qualifying offers. And then I don't think we really have any major free agents. I think Mbah Moute might be a free agent, but other than that, I don't really think there's too much we're working with. So I also want to go ahead and make one more trade. I feel like one other kind of, not super major upgrade, but there needs to be at least one other, slight upgrade on this team. We're going to swing a deal here with the Golden State Warriors. Steven Jackson was good for us for the one season we had him, but ultimately at 33 years old, and although the contract and overall are still strong, I expect some pretty significant regression as we head into year number 2. As a wise man once said, it's better to get out a year early than a year late. So him and John Salmons, who was also pretty good for us, going to be going to Golden State. And in return, we're going to get ourselves Monte Ellis. So Ellis is going to slide into that shooting guard spot. It is now just going to go ahead and move Jimmy to the small forward spot. And I think that's a pretty good move for us with possibly one more trade on the horizon. Oh, wow. Okay. Made a major trade with the Chicago Bulls and landed a very large upgrade at our power forward spot. I didn't expect to make a move this big. Kind of just did it, and it happened. But Carlos Boozer is a very welcome addition to this team, and we certainly gave up a lot to get him. So we're pretty low in the draft pick department at this point in time, but I am very excited to have Boozer on this team. So it's going to be him and Diaw at my power forward spot. Bogut and now Sanders will finally crack this rotation. We do need to find somebody to back up Jimmy Butler. I'm pretty content here with Ellis. I would like to find maybe a little bit better option in terms of our backup guards, but Price can honestly stay. And then Charlie Bell, if there's a way to just upgrade this even just a slight bit, we would be willing to do that. So, yeah, not really seeing much. All right, what I'll likely do, because the 71 overall is not going to be in this rotation, we're going to recuperate one of the draft picks. That's going to be a 2015 draft pick there. And then let's take a look here in free agency, because what is it? We need small forward and shooting guard, I believe. That's it? It is. All right, let's just see what we can do here. The shooting guard options are not the worst in the world. They're not the best. Let's take a look at the small forward options. A lot of older players here in small forward. I feel like Reggie Williams wouldn't be bad at only 24 years old. I'd be willing to throw him some money. Let's give Reggie Williams some money. Oh, I forgot him. Okay. Whatever. Reggie Williams, welcome to the team. And then we'll find ourselves a new backup shooting guard as well behind. Oh, boy. This is not great. Oh, no. Okay. Well, a little less than ideal. Keith Bogans might have to cut it for a year. Either him, Marquise Daniels, who's only 30. That's fine. Okay, of course, the depth is something we will eventually figure out probably next offseason, but I am pretty content with this team heading into year number 2. Second season in Milwaukee has finally arrived. Year 1 was pretty good. I would say we did not necessarily expect to be a playoff team. We ended up being the 6th seed in the East, lost round 1 to a better Celtics team. Now, this offseason made a couple major moves. We shook things up a little bit more than I was initially anticipating, but I'm pretty excited to see how this all works out. Brandon Jennings, Monte Ellis, Jimmy Butler, Carlos Boozer, Andrew Bogut, our new 1 through 5 bench unit. Reggie Williams is all the way up to an 80 overall, so he's going to be my 6th man. Got Boris Diaw behind him at the backup power forward spot, Marquise Daniels, Larry Sanders, and finally Ronnie Price rounding out the 10-man rotation. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. Hopefully this team can be, maybe a top 4 seed in the East. I'll see you guys at the end of year number 2. 48-34 is the record this season here in Milwaukee. It is nothing to be super excited about. I was definitely hoping this was a 50-plus win team, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't even know where that is in the standings. LeBron wins another MVP in Miami. Hoomst? Who? What? The greatest Tatum in the history of the Celtics, Lowell Tatum, is going to be your Rookie of the Year, whoever the hell that is. Baron Davis, your 6th man. Andrew Bogut does win D-Point for us, so that's pretty damn good. Goran Dragic, most improved. Keith Smart, 65 wins in Golden State. as your coach of the year. We're the 4 seed. You can see it right there. Here's a full look at the standings. I mean, to be fair, I asked this team to be a top 4 seed. They did that, technically speaking. And we were actually tied with the Celtics for a 3 seed. So, you know what? 48 wins, nothing you need, again, super, super excited about. But I'll take it. All right, here are the numbers across the board. Monta Ellis, our new leading scorer. Brandon Jennings, Jimmy Butler, pretty solid rookie season. I mean, the shooting splits aren't great. Boozer, was kind of hoping for a little bit more to Boozer. Again, I'm not expecting him to put up like 25 and 12, but if we can get somewhere like this, that would be just a little bit better. Bogut, Williams, Diaw, Daniels, Sanders, and then Price. Rebounding department is going to be Bogut. Assists is Jennings. Okay. Round 1, it is the Orlando Magic, which Dwight Howard is easily the best player in this series. It's quite frankly not even really close. This is going to be a tough challenge here in round 1. Andrew Bogut, the defensive player of the year, definitely has his hands full. But we are up 3-0, and we sweep the Orlando Magic. Wow. All right, it is now the 1 seed Chicago Bulls, who tend to do really, really well in these videos, if you're not aware. Let's take a look here. Of course, Carlos Boozer, now a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. We split the first 2 in Chicago, win game 3 and 4 on our home floor. Don't blow a 3-1 lead. 2K. Thank you. It is time for the Eastern Conference Finals. It is the Boston Celtics, who, of course, we lost to in round 1 last year. Oh, it's so funny. They're good. There's absolutely no denying that. They probably are better than us, but we do take the first 2. Oh, my God. Sweep the Celtics. We're in the NBA Finals, and oh, boy. How? I always ask. It's the same question. I don't get it. Why would you not start Ibaka at the 5? Okay, you know what? That's we're not beating this. There's simply no possible planet that, it's just was never going to happen. Well, I think our best, kind of hope, heading into next season is that we get back to the finals and play quite literally anybody besides the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, Shaq spent a year in Memphis. Oh my God, Jason Kidd, Grant Hill, Eric Dampier. All right, it is time for the final offseason. We know we're good. We know we're close. I think in terms of what we're going to do, I don't expect a major move. This team was just, 4 wins away from winning a championship. And, of course, we ran into a buzzsaw in the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, I don't want to head into the next season assuming that, somehow the Thunder won't be in the finals, because it's certainly a possibility as well. But I do want to consider all possibilities in terms of, maybe one more kind of major trade. But nothing is firm yet, nothing set in stone. Jennings, Sanders, both going to be brought back. We have Stromae Swift as a free agent. And then we have really nobody else, I don't think. But I think Daniel, we have our backup guards are both free agents. Okay. At this point, oh, shit. Shit. Well, I have to find a way to get Boris Diaw back. I am really, really hoping that this game... Okay, thank you. We're good. Everybody else here is free to go. And then we will find ourselves some new backup guards. We are going to be signing Courtney Lee to a 2-year, roughly $10.5, almost $11 million contract. He's going to come in, be my new backup shooting guard. So, this is a user-created Courtney Lee. It looks like his player build was not actually in 2K, but nonetheless, he's going to be a nice upgrade here behind Monta Ellis. We now need to find ourselves a new backup point guard. These options are not great, to say it nicely. I think when we take a look at what I could potentially do here, it's going to be kind of the scumbag way out. I'm going to probably sign a couple guys, and we're going to trade both of them. Again, I understand it's a little cheesy. Nobody really likes it when I do this, but in a championship or bust season, I'm going to do my best to get this team a championship. So, yeah, I get it. Nobody likes it, but it is what it is. All right, we are going to do this. I actually haven't done this in a while. I feel like it's an underrated... Oh, Delonte West. It's an underrated move that I probably should use more, but I really don't. I mean, I traded for Delonte West. I didn't exactly go out and get Prime Kobe or whatever. So, yeah, this team was really good. Obviously, some more development for a guy like Jimmy Butler. I think it's going to be really beneficial, but this is going to be the team we head into the final season with. So, see you guys at the start of year 3 with the rotation. We are now here at the start of year number 3, and I am making another major trade, and it is one with the Philadelphia 76ers that's going to give me a nice upgrade here at my shooting guard spot. Monta Ellis has been good for us for the 1 season he was here. He did his job, but, I think with Andre Iguodala and Drew Holiday, who, of course, are going to provide a little bit more defense, I think it is a really, really beneficial trade. So, now that that is done, it leaves me with some options at my backup shooting guard spot behind. Well, I could just move Holiday to the backup, too. I think I actually may do that. Having him off the bench as a 6-man. That's fine. All right, no other trades are going to be done. Let's go ahead and set this rotation. Final season here in Milwaukee. Couple blockbuster trades later. I think this is by far the best team we have had yet. And I am hoping that we can not only get back to the NBA Finals, but maybe win the damn thing this time. Brandon Jennings, Andre Iguodala, Jimmy Butler, Carlos Boozer, Andrew Bogut. Bench unit, Drew Holiday going to be my 6-man. You got Boris Diaw still here, Reggie Williams, Delonte West, and finally Larry Sanders. So, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting path we took to get here. I wasn't necessarily anticipating a Monte Ellis trade, but when I saw his overall went down, and then I saw the offer from Philly, it was pretty much too good to pass up on. So, this will be the final team heading into year 3. Hopefully another really strong regular season, maybe even a top, 2 seed this time around. I'll see you guys at the end of it. Kobe Bryant going to be your MVP here at the end of the 3rd and final regular season. We go 56-26. It is easily our best record yet. Hopefully it is time for a championship. Anthony Davis, who's a Portland Trailblazer, your Rookie of the Year. You got Steve Nash winning 6th man. Bogut wins his 2nd straight DPOY. Klay Thompson, Most Improved. Scott Brooks, Coach of the Year. Oh, boy. I am really hoping that somebody in this Demon Western Conference can knock out this Thunder team before we have to, maybe get to them. We are the 1 seed here in the East. Let's take a look at the standings. We were 6 games up on the Miami Heat, and of course, Thunder do own the best record in basketball. All right, here are the numbers across the board. Brandon Jennings, Jimmy Butler, Boozer, Iguodala, Holiday, Bogut, Diaw. I mean, I would say our defense is definitely better. Scoring output, is interesting, but I don't really care who does what as long as we are winning. All right, Monte's coming off the bench for this team in Philadelphia. Interesting. I feel we're a lot better than them. I don't think this should be too stressful of a series. We are up 3-0. We sweep them. All right, we are moving on to the Chicago Bulls. Derrick Rose, Corey Maggette, Luol Deng, Taj Gibson, Joakim Noah. I actually am not going to lie. I thought Maggette would regress a lot more than he did. I mean, of course, I'm pretty content with Iggy and Jimmy Butler, but just interesting. We have swept another series. We are oh, my God. How did I not even notice this? Holy shit. Okay, thank you very much, Minnesota. And we don't even have to face LeBron in the Heat. We have the New York Knicks here, who by no means are a bad team, but I would definitely take them over LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and the rest of the Miami Heat. So we've yet to lose a playoff game. We sweep our 3rd straight series, and it is us. And now MVP Kobe Bryant, him and Pau Gasol. Also got Andrew Bynum in here, Tony Allen, Mike Taylor. All right, interesting squad. I think we're better. I think they have the best player, no doubt. Oh, my God, are we not going to lose a game? Oh, my God. And they still give, really, he gets swept, and you give the guy, okay. It's Kobe. It's fine. Wow. Interesting video. Wow, that looks pretty. We entered the final season with a little bit of uncertainty, and then we made the Andre Iguodala, Drew Holiday trade with Philadelphia, and I think everything came together really well and, quite frankly, pretty quickly. So I was a little nervous heading into the final season, but it went about as stress-free as it possibly could have, and we definitely got a little lucky that we didn't have to face that Thunder team, or Miami at that. But I had a lot of fun with this one. I'm just going to read you guys off the list right now of teams we have left to do here in the LeBron era rebuilds. In the East, it's the Bobcats, Nets, Raptors, and Cavs. In the West, it's the Trailblazers, Hornets, Jazz, Clippers, and Kings. So 9 of these to go. I don't know if there's going to be one every day this week, but I'll try to do at least 3 of them. And hopefully we can wrap up this series before the actual NBA offseason is coming. So let me know which one you wanted me to do next down below in the comment section, along with any other video ideas. That'll do it for me. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.